Hey, what's up everybody? Feeling a little stuck at white belt? This video is going to be for you. It's going to have some tips and answer the question, what do I need to do to get my blue belt? What do I need to do to get over that last little hump? You know, maybe you're a 3-stripe white belt and you feel like you've been stuck there for a little bit. Or you just started jiu-jitsu, got a little obsessed with it, and you want the fast track to your blue belt. So this particular question was just posed to me by a buddy of mine. He's a white belt, and he was asking me just, for tips, any tips in order for him to take the next step into getting that blue belt. So I just decided to make it into a video. I made some bullet points, and hopefully this helps just clear up things for anybody else trying to make that step to a blue belt. Okay, so the first tip that I can give, and it's going to sound kind of like dumb, it's so easy, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do it. Talk to your instructor. Like, ask your coach, what are they noticing about your game that's kind of stalling you out? What can you improve upon? What is it that they are looking for from you in order for you to get your blue belt? Ask your coach, instructor, the right questions. I promise you, if they're a decent instructor, which they probably are, they're paying attention to you, they're watching you, they have things that they wish that you probably didn't do, or things that they wish you probably would do more, in order for them to really put that staple, that blue belt onto you, because it is a representation of them. So asking them of what their guidelines are for you to represent them as a blue belt is the first step everyone needs to take. It's gonna be different, a little different probably for every gym. So smart to probably ask the person that is in charge of the jiu-jitsu program at that gym what their requirements are, what they're looking for, and what you could do specifically in order to achieve that blue belt status. So next, we'll go over like the requirements that we have at our gym and what our white belts kind of need to look like and what they're doing in order to get that blue belt. So the first thing I'm going to say is that it should be tough to pass your guard. It's not that 10,000 submissions. It's not that you can tap a whole bunch of people with 2 submissions. It should be tough to pass your guard. As a white belt, you are just figuring out the game. You come in, you don't really know anything about jiu-jitsu. Maybe you've wrestled before, you got a little grappling experience. But jiu-jitsu, when you think of jiu-jitsu, it is being on your back. It is guard work. It's guard play. It's submissions from the guard. Obviously, top pressure is a big part of it too. But what jiu-jitsu predominantly is the guard work. So develop a guard. Doesn't matter. You can just be one. Start with closed guard. Most people do. Get comfortable in it and really put some time in making your guard difficult to pass. Having decent guard retention. I'm not saying impossible, but it should take someone at least 1, 2, 3 guard passing attempts. They shouldn't be able to just grab your feet, toss them to the side, and you just crumble. Now, here are a couple ways how to improve your guard retention. The first is going to be an elbow escape. If it is difficult to hold you in a dominant position, side control, mount, and you have a solid elbow escape, it's boring as hell, I know, but if you have a solid elbow escape and you're tough to pin down, then that means that you're getting plenty of time back in your guard and back in any open guard that you might want to be trying, and getting reps on submissions and sweep attempts. You may get your guard passed, but you got a solid elbow escape and you're able to get out of tough pinning positions. And that leads right into the next one. Knees to chest. Knees to chest. If someone is trying to pass your guard and they're looking like they're getting past your guards, start focusing on bringing your knees up to your chest in these transition periods. Make it difficult for them to pass your guard. For them to get to side control or mount or knee on belly, a part of their body has to be past your legs and making contact with your chest, be it their hips, like waist for mount, chest pressure for side control, or knee on belly is pretty obvious, knee on belly. If your knees are up to your chest in between you and your opponent, your guard is not passed. And if your guard is at all, even a little bit difficult to pass, you're constantly getting time in the in-between, the transition time. This is where a lot of the growth is actually made. A lot of times you see white belts, they have a decent closed guard, but the moment the guard opens, the first pass attempt you try on them, their legs hit the mat, you go to side control, and they get stuck there forever. So we don't have a developed elbow escape, and we don't have developed the transition game as well. Keeping those knees up and framing with your hands, finding that time to elbow escape in transition. This will greatly improve your bottom game, your guard retention. These two go hand in hand so well. If your guard is open and somebody's having to throw 2 or 3 guard passing attempts at you, making them a little tired, getting them a little frustrated, and by the time they actually do get to side control, maybe they're a little tired and you have an easier route to your elbow escape, or now your elbow escape is developed enough to where now you're not having to have the perfect situation and perfect setup for frames. Your knees are up to your chest and you're learning how to elbow escape with only one leg and maybe one hand frame. You're developing an elbow escape that you can hit in transition rather than just trying to bail onto it once somebody's already established a dominant position onto you. Next, I kind of already touched on it, but you need to have a formidable guard. Usually tends to be closed guard in the beginning, especially white belt to blue belt. And what I mean by formidable is you should have 1 or 2 combos that are pretty reliable. Simple one, I have a video on it, is like a hip bump sweep to a Kimura, or a Kimura attempt to a hip bump sweep, or a shotgun grip to an arm drag, or to an arm bar if they defend that. Neither of these techniques require any inverting or extreme amount of jiu-jitsu knowledge. These are relatively simple techniques that, just require drill time to get them down. Okay, so we already touched on some pretty standard requirements here. I mean, obviously these are going to change depending on gym, where you're at, and depending on person as well. But I think the last one that has to be brought up too is you have to understand the difference between a competitive belt and a casual belt. Not all white belts are the same, and not all blue belts are the same. Okay, if you decided to become like an athlete at your gym, a competitor at your gym, understand the road to your blue belt is probably going to be a little bit harder and longer than someone who is a casual at the gym. I mean, I'm not saying that the casuals rush through the belts by any means, but your requirements are going to be harder met. Okay, there's a difference between somebody who can commit 6 days to doing jiu-jitsu and wants to be a competitor and compete on big levels, and the person that has, a family, 2 kids, a career, and can only make it to the gym 2 or 3 days a week. The requirements are going to change depending on the person that's asking it and what that person's goals are. Okay, that any good instructor is going to be paying attention, and that's going to change their particular requirements. Now, it shouldn't change it night and day or anything like that, but there definitely is a difference in requirements. So talk to your instructor. All right, there you go, guys. I hope this helps anybody out that's kind of seeking that blue belt, that's trying to really figure it out, can't quite get over that hump. I'm looking forward to doing more videos like this for y'all. So until next time, 3, 2, 1.